Welcome. I am so excited to be here with Anna to talk to you about her journey out of the classroom. Hey, Anna, good morning. How are you? I'm so excited to be here with you today.
I'm great. Thanks for letting me be here and share my story.
Oh my goodness, it is so my pleasure. So tell everybody, what are you doing currently?
So I was able to get a position as the director of program development for Groves Literacy Partnerships. So it's education adjacent. It's an academy that grew this sort of arm that is now creating curriculum for literacy for a lot of schools in Minnesota, but they're hoping to really branch out nationwide.
I love the education adjacent, right? How many teachers wish that when they exited the classroom, they still had their foot in the door with education where they get to make a difference?
Yeah. And I think for me, I've always looked for a job that like provides the ability for me to like innovate. And I found that really hard to do in a lot of teaching positions within public schools. So the
Yes.
ability to be innovative in education, but doing it in a way that it isn't restricted to like just the jobs and all the flow of like how budgets work and things like that is pretty exciting.
So what kind of innovation do you get to do?
So the position is the development of their literacy, essentially curriculum, but they also do lots of services and things like that. So it's being able to look 2 or 3 years down the road. One thing that they don't have because they're really small is a digital presence. So I'm going to have a lot of
Mm.
work in terms of being able to create a digital experience for their curriculum.
How exciting,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
it's
I mean,
exciting.
to want to be something like from the ground up and to be implemental in launching that.
Yeah.
Um, and one of the things that teachers really miss is that opportunity to be able to be creative, to be able to use their knowledge and expertise and say, this is what our curriculum should look like. This is what our students need.
Hmm. Yeah, I
And
think there's, another thing that really drew me to the job, and I think one of the reasons of wanting to leave, public schools was just the ability to gain more skills. And so while there's a lot of ability to be creative, I'm also in a position where I'm supervising people, and I also
yes,
have the ability to work with lots of different people when it comes to build a curriculum, because one of the things I'm learning too is that it's essentially like a publishing company, so there's lots of stages to that. And so I'm learning about copy editing, I'm learning about like trademarks. There's so many sort of important
fantastic. Yeah.
nuances that I wouldn't have gotten from a teaching job. And so I think that also is really important to me, because whether I stay and I see this grow or whether I find another opportunity, I feel like this experience is a really good step for other things.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We're not meant to be stagnated in life. We are supposed to continue to grow and challenge ourselves. You were telling me off camera before, right? Like, this is so exciting. There's so many new challenges.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I don't think I would have gotten this in any other position. Even as a supervisor in a teaching role, there's just so many other factors when it comes to, we're essentially developing a product, right? So we're
Correct.
educators, but we're also like a business. So all of those aspects is something that I'm really excited to learn about.
How great for your own personal development.
Yeah.
What made you decide to pursue outside of the classroom?
I've had a pretty unique educational career because I was in the classroom, but I've also had a lot of positions where I was an instructional coach. I also was a data coordinator. So I did testing, but I also was looking at data with principals, and then I also worked doing anti-racist training. So I've had a variety of roles within education, and unfortunately, while I really love those roles, because for me, I really enjoy looking at how systems develop and actually changing systems, particularly for teachers. Um, those jobs don't always last, and anytime there's some sort of um, budget
Budget.
budget cut, yeah, like the job goes too. And so, I had a job kind of cut in half in one district, and I just left a district where I had been cut twice now. And I just really thought, if I have to leave this job, that and at the time I really thought it was my dream job, I might as well open up and look and see kind of what else is out there. I'm sort of, I'm mid-career. I'm 48 and I still have 15, maybe 20 years, depending, um, of work still to do. And I didn't necessarily want to pigeonhole myself as to, well, you have to stay in education. So I really didn't know sort of what to do. I mean, that's so this summer, this was about, 6, 8 months ago. One of the things I decided to do was to work with Cindy because I knew that there was probably different ways to look at the skills that I had and resumes and how do you actually look at jobs when you don't really know what they mean. And so part of that was networking, and that's where I started to sort of work on the process of getting this job. Lasted about 8 months. I was talking with someone who thought I'd be really good for this position before it was even written. So it was also sort of a waiting game where I was applying and looking for other things, and at the same time, like this potentially was there.
What a great story. I love that you pointed out, and I would love for everybody who's watching to realize that, you said, I'm 48. I still have all these years left, 15, 20 years left. You get to decide. You don't have to stay somewhere for eternity. Outside of education, people wouldn't be in the same job for their entire life.
Mhm.
So I love that you had the courage and the strength and the determination to pursue that, to write that next chapter of your life.
Thanks. Yeah, yeah. No, I think some of the conversations we had what were you may not get sort of like that dream job. It was really hard for me to leave something that I really thought was going to be my dream job and I was going to stay in 20 years, and that job just doesn't exist anymore. And then you're like, well, what am I going to do now? And it's not necessarily about, okay, so now you got to find your next dream job. I mean, that'd be great. And this potentially is. Um, but it's also okay to say, I'm going to try this, and this also can leverage like so many different things for me, um that it could be also a really good next step too. So
Which is
being able to
really
look at,
important for teachers to realize, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that sometimes it's the next step. It's not, "I have to find a job that I wanna stay at for 30 years." Doesn't
yeah,
have to be.
yeah, yeah. So that kind of that allowed me, I think, a certain kind of freedom to also just kind of take more risks. Through this process I also applied for a position at Best Buy, and I never thought that I ended up going through 3 interviews and it wasn't a
It's a
good
really
fit.
high-level position at Best Buy.
Yeah, yeah. So I was just surprised, that I got so far. But it really took just sort of reorienting around. I think the thing for me was thinking, instead of your resume being a list of just stuff that you've done, it's sort of like, what are the accomplishments that you've made and how do you phrase things that way? And I really think that that's what got me through so many interviews and in that process, and the fact that this was my first sort of major interview after just doing things in teaching, mostly public education. I was pretty proud of myself for the fact that that I was able to get that far.
You texted me, you're like, "I made it through. I had the 3rd round of interview at this job at Best Buy. I'm considering that a win." Right?
Yeah.
That was what you texted me,
Oh, for
right?
sure.
Because you never expected that they would see you in that position coming from education.
Right. Yeah.
So what was it like when we worked together? And what
um
did you get out of us working
it was
together?
it started challenging. I was also at a very vulnerable spot, because I'd always very easily gotten jobs in schools, right? I've had all of these like really interesting jobs outside the classroom. And so looking at my resume as, you're not actually listing any of your accomplishments, and having to reorient that way was, for me, it took a while to sort of be able to think about things in that way and be able to sort of
But I helped you with it.
You did very much, very much. Yeah. So, I think the first couple of meetings, was the time where I kind of really transformed, and things got way easier after that. I think the first couple times where you write your resume for a specific job and you write the cover letter, um it's you're just like, I don't know if this makes sense, and so you're able to provide that feedback, and then all of those things get easier as you're then submitting things to different places. So um it was super helpful, because now I have 3 or 4 resumes now that if I decide to look again, I can start from there. But also, I'm in this job, I'm thinking about, okay, so what can I put down as accomplishments? So rather than just say, oh, I
Yes.
managed a meeting, it was like, well, what did I do to make that meeting better? Was I more efficient? Did I get people like to complete more tasks? Like, how do you actually think about your work as something that you have improved that you can talk about in an interview?
How many people did you impact, right?
Mhm.
You're starting to think about those numbers,
Yeah.
right? So it has you putting yourself in a better position for promotions and raises in this company or anywhere else because you're starting now recognizing your value and your worth and you're
Yeah.
looking for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And and it's keeping track of those things. So, when you're in your job, now, then you think about, okay, so I can't forget about this. Like, I need to write this down, that this is, something that I was able to accomplish, so that you can use it later. And like you said, it's not just for the next interview. It's perhaps even like within the company that you're working with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what was the most beneficial part of us working together?
Um, I think it was the immediate feedback, right? So being able to look at a resume, and I mean, I think having the videos there where you could go back and you could kind of look through them, and then some of the
And
templates
I
that.
just want to point out, we're talking about the videos that are in my modules for my program, right? Not my YouTube stuff.
Yes, yes. um yeah, and then but then being able to write it, and then being able to have you look at it, and I think also just asking those very poignant questions about, well, so um I know that we had a meeting, and I was like, I don't even know what to look for. And we just, we sort of went on Indeed, and you said, don't worry about what the title is. You could do something like this, because if we're looking at what they're asking you to do, you've done all those things before. And then I thought, oh yeah, that's true. So it was really kind of, that immediate feedback really helps you sort of shift your mindset, and in terms of what you think you can go for, and what is actually out there, that you're saying that, based on what you've told me about your skills and what's on your resume and what we've worked on, this is a good fit for you, so just give it a try.
Yeah, opening up your mindset to the opportunities that are available for you.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
teachers are afraid to go big. They think they can't do it.
Yeah.
A lot of teachers think they have to go back a few steps and go entry level, and that's you have proved that is so not true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. I am so proud of you. I'm so happy for you, and I wish you so much continued success.